gospel with this sentence, we wouldn't really fully understand why the disciples had asked Jesus to increase their faith. To better understand why they asked this, we have to go back a few to the first verse of chapter 17 and read up until the part where the disciples said, "Increase our faith." And it says, Jesus said to his disciples, "Occasions for stumbling are bound to come, but woe to anyone by whom they come. It would be better for you if a millstone were hung around your neck and you were thrown into the sea than for you to cause one of these little ones to stumble. Be on your guard. If another disciple sins, you must rebuke the offender, and if there is repentance, you must forgive. And if the same person sins against you 7 times a day and turns back to you 7 times and says, 'I repent,' you must forgive." The apostles said to the Lord, "Increase our faith." Forgiveness, we know, is difficult, right? But it's something interesting when Jesus starts off this chapter by saying, stumbling blocks, stumbling is going to come. Right? You're not going to go through life and never have problems. Anyone here haven't had problems in their lives yet, please raise your hand. And let me know how you did it. But Jesus says the problems are going to come in life. We cannot escape them. They're a part of life just like anything else. Evil is in this world. Good and bad happens to good people and bad people. It doesn't matter. It's going to happen. But then he says, woe to you if it does. And not because it's a part of life and it happens to you, but woe to you if you cause the stumbling block in someone else's life. Have you been a stumbling block in someone else's life? Or is it easy for you to identify those people who've been a stumbling block in your life? Right? Jesus says to us, things are going to happen, and sometimes those things are caused by us, and sometimes those things are caused by other people, and sometimes those things are just caused by the unknown reasons. But if we know the reason, if we are the reason, we must go and seek forgiveness. We must seek forgiveness and return and repent. We can't return to doing the same thing over again and then tell your buddy, please forgive you. Because then I often wonder, if you say I'm sorry, right? And you do the same thing tomorrow, are you sorry? Right? This is what goes through our minds, right? We want to know the authenticness of someone's apology. If they're truly sorry, and if they're truly changed and returned to a place where God says, care for your brother and sister as you would care for me. And so it becomes a struggle at times to truly forgive. But even though that person keeps on saying, I'm sorry, every single time they say, I'm sorry, what are we supposed to do? But what do we do? Right? We're supposed to be forgiving them regardless of where their stance is. We are called to forgive and to allow that to happen. Why? Because God forgives us each and every time. And it gets difficult. It gets hard to forgive when someone keeps on doing the same thing over and over. It is frustrating. You want to put up your hands and say, or some other things. Right? You want to say, okay, I'm gonna just walk away. But has God walked away from us? I still believe that God calls us to love and forgive, and that we can forgive people and keep them at a distance. And if they call, we can be polite. If we see them, we can be polite and kind and treat them with kindness in our hearts. But God is not asking us to stay with the person all the time if they're causing us harm and danger. Anyone that puts a stumbling block, anyone that prevents us from having a true relationship with God is a problem in our lives that we need to figure out how to solve. Sometimes we have to walk away. Sometimes it just causes you to dig a little deeper and see what actually is the root of this problem. Why is this person becoming this way? And how can I adjust myself? Not adjust them. You know, many times we get into relationships and we want to fix people. No, the thing is to fix you. Fix how you're going to deal with the person in your life. If you want change to happen, start with you and how you deal with them. Sometimes it's okay when someone's going irate and crazy to stand there and just be normal. You know, and just say, oh, okay, well, calm down. Or don't say calm down, because that makes them worse, right? Everybody tell you to calm down, you just want to turn it up. But sometimes, you know, I in those moments when they're going to such an extreme, I go to the extreme with them in the sense of, okay, I'm going to enter into your role. So you think cars are floating in the sky. So tell me, what colors are those cars? You know, I go with where people are in order to bring them back to focus on what actually is the problem. But going angry as they are angry, screaming and yelling, never ever really solve any problems. Because neither of us can hear each other. But God says to us, even if the next day they go and do the same thing, forgive. Forgive. And that's why the disciples said, Lord, you better increase my faith. Because it takes a lot of faith, a lot of strength to endure such things. It takes a lot of strength to get over or to come to a place of peace and in your heart when someone truly has done something wrong to you. Because you do not forget. And it hurts. And sometimes it hurts as the same day it has happened. Even if it's 10 years down the line, it still hurts. But God says this morning, all the faith we need is the size of a mustard seed. Now, when I was young, I didn't know what a mustard seed looked like. But then when I started cooking, I said, oh my gosh, this thing is small. But if that's all we need to have faith, can you imagine what we could do? Can you imagine? This little bush, this little seed turns into a big, big bush. And many things happen out of it. This little seed turns into that nice yellow thing we want to put on our hot dogs and hamburgers and everything else. It makes an interesting addition to your meal if you ever cook with it. This little seed. Jesus says that's all we need to have in our level of our faith. Because our faith is not in man. Our faith is not in the world or in inordinate things. Our faith is in God. And with God, we can do amazing things. With God, we can learn how to forgive just as He has forgiven us. With God, we can look at our own lives and examine how far He's brought us on the way, how much He has taken a look at the things that we have done right and the things that we have done wrong and still have journeyed with us. And if He could do it for us, maybe, just maybe, I can do it for my brother and sister. Maybe, just maybe, that's all I need to have faith. Last night, I decided to watch Oprah Winfrey's, what is it called? Sunday, something Sunday. Super Soul Sunday on demand. And they had Cookie, Magic Johnson's wife. And we all know about Magic Johnson and Magic Johnson's wife. And Oprah asked her the question, when you heard the news of what happened and the fact that you might have HIV, why didn't you leave? Why didn't you? And she said, I had faith. I had faith that God had brought us together in this relationship. They had been engaged about 2 times, and he had called it off 2 times, and she kept staying with him, and she kept going, and all because of her faith. And where they are today is so much stronger than where they were in the beginning. Not because they both have to journey this disease together, but together as a couple, they learn to manage their problems. They learn to talk with each other. They learn to forgive each other. They learn to stand up for what they wanted and expected in the relationship with each other. She even talked about a few years ago that they had separated for 2 weeks. And Oprah said, how did you even avoid that in the tabloids and the news? But she also asked, well, what brought you back together? And they said, our faith. Faith and God's love can heal many wounds. And it doesn't take much to have for God to work within us, to God to give us the strength and courage to stand when everybody wonders, why? What are you doing? How come you're forgiving? How come you're allowing this person to continue to be in your lives? If we say that we have faith, then we must trust God to be God in our lives, and that all things are possible for us to happen in our lives. And so he can change our hearts when it's hardened. He can change that person that we've been praying for. He can do all things for us if our faith is there. And it doesn't need to be increased. It can be just a mustard seed. That's an amazing thought process. Just a mustard seed, and all things are possible. Now, the other part of it is a little bit strange at the end, right? Because Jesus says, well, you don't say to your slave when they come from the field, come sit down at the table with us. You tell them, continue to work. And it is just like God. God sees all of our deeds. God sees the fact that we're capable of forgiving others, but we're not seeking, he's not going to give us a reward per se for it, right? We don't do things for God because we hope to get a reward. I hope not, right? Some of us do. Some of us do because if-then statement. If I do this, then God will do this. Or we might pray, Lord, if you give me this lotto ticket, right? Because my parents are always about lotto. My mom and dad know where I stand with the lotto, but they say, Kassinda, if we win, are you going to take the money? That's a difficult question. But, we always have these if-then. If I win the lotto, then 10% will come to the church. I hope when the 10% comes, I hope when that time comes, I will find you at the church door. Okay? We have these conditional clauses that we put there. But God says, do my work regardless of the reward. Even though you have worked hard, I still require more of you. Even though you feel like you deserve it, and you do, I still have more work for you to do. Don't worry about your blessings. They will come. They will be there, and you will have them. But do the work that I'm called you to do in this world. That is difficult. It's not just about being able to forgive. It's not just about the level of your faith, but it's also about the obedience that you have to God and his work that he has created you to do. That even when it's difficult, even when you're tired, he gives you enough strength to continue on. He gives you enough time to do the work. We all want 25 hours in a day. But what if we did have it? What would we do then? We'd ask for what? 26. God says 24 hours, you can do the work that I've given you to do. In 1 week, if I've given you a task, you can complete it. In 1 month, and so on and so forth. Continue my work here on earth. And don't do it expecting, but do it out of the faith and the love you have for me. Forgiveness, faith, and obedience. This is the task at hand as we Christians move out into the world. That we turn to our neighbor or turn to the person who has hurt us and we say, I forgive you. That my faith is strong enough to forgive you and to move on and to do what God calls me to do, even if that means I have to be your caretaker. Even if it means that I have to give you my all. With faith as a mustard seed, I can do anything. Amen.
Amen.